love is God, and I think people get the emotion of love twisted because I know when you're facing obstacles and difficulty, you're not focusing on the love. You're focusing on what's right in front of you. And I need you guys to understand that that is a distraction of the enemy, because if you don't know the legacy that God has for you, he does. The enemy knows. And he uses the little, what does the word say? The little foxes. They destroy the vine. So it's the little things that we experience on a day-to-day lifestyle that I think we think are not relevant, but that is where growth takes place, okay? So we're gonna go into this, the first step.
Okay.
This was supposed to play on the slide, y'all, but this is when we got married. And I want you guys to just see that what this represents. He's not confined to a wheelchair, but we're not doing this alone. That's by the grace of God, and we're surrounded by, a lot of these people are here in this room. A lot of these people are God-fearing men and women that are married. And you can't do this alone. Okay, so next slide, please.
You see the kid walking? Only Kayla would make me get up from my chair and walk to her.
Yeah, I hit the clicker and it made it go away. But we're gonna start off with set the foundation, okay? So like he said, and I love the fact that he was able to do this because this is in perfect alignment with what we have for you. Begin with the end in mind. Get on one accord with each other about your vision and goal for your marriage, and here's the most important part, involve God. Let me tell you one thing, Jorge and I are not high C's.
At all.
At all. Detail is not our strong point.
Let me stop for a second. It used to not be our strong point. And we used to say we're not high C's. But we understand, and this is what I want you to really, Kayla and I are high D's and high I's ourselves. Naturally, we're very alike, but different in so many ways. But I understand, and we understand quickly, that even though we went for a long time saying, well, I don't like math. Well, guess what? I'm in college chasing a degree right now, right? I'm in college chasing a degree now. And I realized that the more I said to myself, I don't like math, guess what, guys? Guess what? The professor's my boy now. My man that knows all the answers and knows how to really go through math has become my closest person, right? But I've become to say, I do math. I am structured. I am attentive to detail. And I think it's huge that we understand that as we even sit here and take these lessons, or we write it down. Some of you are gonna just sit here and be like, no, listen. No, take your pen, take your pencil, write down some things. Even if it's detail is not your thing, start now. Own it. I'm sorry, Queen. I just
No, you should. We're working together, boo. So listen, I told y'all that we are barbers, okay? Everybody in here gets their haircut, right? Right? Everyone here has asked for a trim at one point, whether you're a barber, whether you're a man or a female. Everyone in here has asked for a trim, okay? Shout out to Quest, he just got his this morning.
This morning.
You can't tell him nothing right now. So how many of you guys have asked for a trim and they cut a whole bunch of your hair off? You asked for a trim, right? You had a goal, but you didn't leave with your goal. I need you guys to be specific. Communication, you can't just say, boo, I want to spend quality time with you because that's my love language. I love to spend time. But if I tell him I want to spend quality time with you and sitting in the car is quality time to him, I'm gonna be real sour. And then I have these unrealistic expectations. Well, if he don't know, so why should I even say anything? Anyone been there? And then you sitting in that, and then your man asks you what's wrong. Nothing.
Now fellas, like stop playing. You know something's wrong.
Let me tell you something right now. As a stylist, as a barber, it is my job to ask questions. An inch to me and an inch to you could be totally different things, even though it's plain black and white, an inch is an inch, but it's perspective. This right here your goals and your visions, I need you guys to really, really have this conversation. And one thing that I know about Jorge and I, with us being 15 years apart and being together for 10 years, I'm not the same woman that I was. I'm 30 years old right now. I'm not 20-year-old Kayla. My mindset is totally different. And your spouse is constantly changing, and that's okay. And I think sometimes we get upset with our spouse because it's like, yo, what happened? You changed. We're supposed to. And I think sometimes we get so stuck on the old version of our spouse because there's fun times and there can be fun times. But that's not the season. We're in different seasons. And these goals and visions, they always change, and God has different assignments for you in different seasons. So you need to involve God. And the purpose of me saying that I'm not a high C is, guess what God is? And I might not have the details myself because I'm not wired that way, but if I involve God in my relationship, I learn. He tells me exactly what I need to do if I can learn how to shut up and listen.
Let's go.
Remove the unnecessary bulk and weight. When I'm doing a haircut, in order for me to see if I start a fade, I gotta remove all the extra hair. So that way I'm not working harder. When I came into my relationship with Jorge, we both, I'm not even gonna just say me, we both had a lot of bulk and baggage. And I remember going to marriage counseling. We started early. We did premarital counseling. We started counseling the same year we got married because I didn't know what the heck I was doing. Okay, I've been driving a Honda Civic by myself, a 1989, and I hopped in a 2020 Benz. I didn't know what I was doing.
Hey.
I said, I need help. Because I don't know what to do. I'm about to crash this. It's driving on its own. I got blinking light. I don't know what I'm doing right now. But I remember saying, I feel like I'm still operating in survival mode. Because that's all I've ever known. I've always needed to defend myself. Like you said, you gotta put an expiration point on it. I find for myself, I was operating in survival mode and I was so sick of it. I know my man loves me. I don't want to be in a relationship that we can't communicate about our business. I'm defending myself. The person that I was doing the marriage counseling told me, you can't expect yourself to live a way that you've been living for 25 years and think that you're going to remove that in under a year. And the crazy thing is when Jorge and I took our time to get married, and I said, we can't get no more married than what we already are.
I was like, yo, that's just a piece of paper, man. Stop playing.
He was bugging a little bit.
But let's go back to the generational curses that we don't even know that we still operate off.
And who you're listening to.
And who you listening to.
One thing that I realized about marriage is one of the most transformative things I've ever experienced in my entire life. And my expectations when I came into this marriage, I don't know if anyone can relate. The first year to 2 years, I keep hearing about this honeymoon thing. I'm like, isn't this supposed to be more fun? Because, like, we fighting a lot. I don't know. This is ghetto. I don't know if I'm doing this right. But one thing that I realized is God was like a detox, y'all. When we do detox, when you're starting a new lifestyle, right, ladies? We got a little tease. We do our juice cleanse. Stuff starts coming up. You might start feeling sick. And that's because there's unnecessary toxins you've been putting into your body and you've been carrying for a long time. And the detox is doing its work. And one thing I can tell you right now is that is exactly what God was doing for me as soon as I got married. I didn't sign up for that. But praise God for it.
I want to touch on something real quick, right? Fellas, right? And I want to talk real quick to my fellas, right? Sisters, this doesn't mean that doesn't apply to you. But you know, Kayla talked, and we talk barber terms because that's just the language we do talk, right? But everybody in here has gone to a barbershop or a stylist, right? And so there's two relationships in that situation. You have the client and you have the stylist or the barber, right? I'm going to talk to you in regards to as the barber right now, and then we're going to switch the roles real quick, right? So when we go in there, and when you go into the barbershop, fellas, or ladies, I can't speak too much about ladies. I'm a dual license, but I've been in the barbershop. Fellas, right? You go in the chair, you sit down. Your barber most likely cuts a lot of people, deals with a lot of situations. We family, friends, business, so on. Doesn't mean that he doesn't know you, doesn't care about you. But you sit in that chair, you be like, yeah, the same as usual. Okay, the same as usual there could be a miscommunication there. There could be a real huge miscommunication there. Just because you've been with your wife for 10, 15 years, 3 years, 20 years, 30 years, right? Doesn't mean that things don't change. That we don't change our minds, that we don't feel different. So first of all, the barber's not going to really understand what that is until you sit there and have the patience enough to explain to them exactly what you want. That's number one, right? So as a barber, I can't just listen. I got to paraphrase right back to you what you're telling me. It's called a consultation. So as in marriage, we forget to consult with each other, right? Because I assume, Kayla, you know better. XYZ should have been done. Oh, how do you mean? I don't read minds, what's Kayla telling me. I'm tapped into God, but he hasn't gave me that gift. Not yet anyway, right? And it took me a long time to understand that it's the same process that when I sit there and I tell to a client that it doesn't matter that me and you been doing business for 10, 15 years, because I've been in business, I've been in the wheelchair for 27 years, I've been in business for 17 years, but I've been doing this for 20 years, so I learned how to cohere in a wheelchair. Right? I dominated an industry that consists of standing up, I did it sitting down. And it wasn't because I was that nice, because my wife was smoking, but what I do understand is people. And so if you understand that even though it's a marriage consists of what? People, you have to try to understand what that person wants and needs. So through consultation, right, I'm going to ask some questions. All right? Real quick, my brother, what kind of hair can you get? Low temp. All right, so when you say fade, is it a skin type fade? Is it a shadow fade? Is it a higher tight? The reason I'm asking this because your definition of skin tight, right? I've had people say I want a skin tight. I go with trimmer. They're like, whoa, what you did? See, to them, that's a shadow. To me, skin is skin, right? So what are the expectations in your marriage right now that you guys are not consulting through? And one person is saying, I need an inch off, and your inch is different from my inch because we never took the time together to actually look at the ruler and see what the inch looked like. Right? So consultation is real huge. Why? Because Caleb just talked to you about begin, right, with the end in mind. For me to be able to give you what you want at the end of that service, you got to tell me what type of haircut. I got to think of the haircut, and I got to envision the haircut in my head, see it already, and now I have to begin the process to achieve what you need and the service you want. The number one is consultation, and then whether we go from top to bottom, bottom to top, it doesn't matter because we're going to all meet at the same place. As long as you get your haircut, you're going to be happy. See, Kayla, she don't care if it's, when she says, let's spend some time. I used to be ignorant enough to say, bro, we've been in the same room. Like, what more time do you need? I didn't get it. I did not get it. Why? I'm a 99D. I'm a tax-orientated person. I'm an 81I, but when I feel like my back is against the wall, I go into this work mode. So it's not what I'm saying, it's what I'm doing. So you're being disrespectful. Why? How am I being disrespectful? You see, you should be happy because the bills are paid. You should be happy because we got a certain amount of numbers in the thing. Well, let me tell you something, fellas. Stop that egotistical, put it aside, because you're losing the game. You're losing the game. You're not understanding that when she tells me, Jorge, I want to spend some time, that means babysitter and check. He's 15, so he sits himself now. Check, right? That means a day night check. Your boy smelling good, check. Your boy looking swaggy, check. Your boy looking like that drink, check. And if I really want to take it to the next level, I won't even let her set it up. I'll set it up. I'm going to save you today. Write this down. That's what it means. It doesn't mean we're going to go ride in the car and go get something to drive through and then go back home. It took me a while to understand that. But why? Because I started understanding that everything we do in marriage has to start with a consultation.
That's facts though, and you know what I think about when I hear you say that? We have meetings regularly for our employees. Like you said, business is like a marriage. One of the core foundations, core values that I have in my business is you are going to come in 90% experience, 10% haircut. How many of you have been to a restaurant where the food was amazing, but the experience was absolute trash? And the food is not that good. I don't care how good the sex is. I don't care what you're doing. But if the marriage, the experience of our lifestyle is not good.
Oh, now you're preaching, girl. Let's go.
What are we doing? Like, it's cute to be married, paying bills, y'all going on vacation, still fighting, going out to eat, still fighting.
Yeah, some of y'all fighting right now, and y'all playing it off.
And
That's what
Jorge
y'all
and I
woke
used
up.
to be the king and queen of going to Longhorn and sitting there with the stale face, not saying nothing. People looking at us like, what's wrong with them? That's the old us though now. We're grown.
We're grown, but that's because we learned to remove the bulk, right? The weight off of our relationship. And it starts with a consultation. Guys, like right now, right? Look at your wife, look at your husband, like where do you really want to take this? I don't know about you, but ultimately it's that phenomenal living, right? I want to be prosperous. That paralyzed way of doing things, the world's gonna continue to pass you by. And he said it. But you're gonna wait another 5, 10 more years? I get you went through some things. I get there's some trauma. I get it. If you grew up like I grew up, I promise you, I gotta check myself. Right? I gotta remind myself how precious I am and how God loves me. And that's why I'm still here after getting shot 6 times. And that's just the outside. That's what you see from the outside. So nobody's telling you that it's not right for you to feel what you're feeling. What is not right is for you to keep your husband or your wife hostage in your paralyzed mindset because they're willing to move and they're trying to bring you along with them and you're not letting them take you nowhere.
That's good, man. That's real good.
Give them the last point, dude.
All right, follow the order of operations. This is something Quest taught us. Okay? Jorge and I, like you said, we're bad at math. So
I'm not. I stopped saying that.
he's good.
I told you where I'm at with it.
He just got the math inside.
I'm going for my PhD, so where you getting this?
We came into our relationship self, no God. God was there, but we weren't there for God, if that makes sense. Business, family, then us. And frustration, more problems that are so much more avoidable now that I know how we follow this. Our day, every single day, we are not the same when we don't start our day with God. It's easy to fall accustomed into this world. You get up, Jorge and I get up, we're gym heads, we love to be in the gym. Put your headphones on, you listening to something crazy because that's what gets you to live the good stuff, you know what I'm saying? Listen to Rick Ross, Wu-Tang, Biggie. Yeah, nah, I can't be doing that. Not where I come from. Brings me back. When we start with God first, I have to have God my time first. I have to. I need that daddy daughter time. I need that. God is gonna train me. I didn't have that role model or that visual or that map to be a wife. I didn't. But I'm a daughter first. And when I understood who I am, and I allowed myself to be a daughter of God first, and allow him to love on me, so that my cup is full, so then I can pray with my husband, pray with our son, then go about our day. When I tell y'all, game changer, communication, all the problems that we had that we just kind of want to throw in the towel with, and it sounds good, but it's not easy. That growth right there, it is not easy. But this order of operations, if there's other things in front of this, I'm telling you guys right now, it's biblical. God first. You gotta put yourself in there too. You gotta pour into yourself. Let me tell you something right now. 2000, we got married in 2018. Immediately, yo, I was looking good.
Still looking good, girl. Stop playing.
Thanks, Daddy. But I battled with depression my entire life. I've gone through some things. My mother and father are addicted to heroin. I've seen some things that I probably should not have seen, been in certain situations that I probably should not have been in. And I was holding on to a lot. I lost sense of myself. Gained over 60 pounds. Couldn't communicate with him. He didn't know what was wrong because I didn't want to communicate with him. I didn't know how. I literally lost myself. And how is it that I'm in a business that I pour into people, I lay hands on people, and I'm not feeling good about myself? I'm serving in the community. I'm serving, I'm leading, I'm being business owner, I'm doing all these things, and I have nobody could tell what I was going through inside. But because I didn't allow God to work with me, I didn't put myself, there was a lot of undoing that he had to do for me. 2020, when everything locked down and our business was shut down for about 6-7 months, I focused on me and God. And our relationship we're in the best place that we have ever been in our relationship. Not just our relationship, our finances, our business. We didn't get no PPA loans. We have all our employees. We were in the position to renovate our barbershop. Our relationship with our son is the best it's ever been. He feels comfortable to talk to us, but it's because we follow this order of operations right here. And it's not selfish to put yourself in God first. It's not.
All right, one time. Oh my God, one time. Let's go.
Yes.
I appreciate that one time. That really does for me. Makes me want to pop some willies, but I'm gonna tame this. Kayla said only a few willies. You get out of control. Well, I think we family here, so yeah, I might get a couple more.
Go ahead, baby. You can act up today. All right. Next is take ownership. All right. Identify what roles that you play in your marriage. Because listen, you're more than a wife. You're more than a husband. Some of you are fathers. Some of you are mothers. Some of you guys are employees. Some of you guys own businesses. Identify all these things. How does each role affect one another? Are you coming home stressed from work and you're putting all your work stress onto your spouse? Are you stressed with your kids and you're not giving your spouse that quality time because you feel like you're empty? As extroverted as I am, I get drained working with people out there. I get so drained. A lot of people don't understand that because they see me bugging all the time, but I do. I'm talking to people, pouring into them. When I come home, I would get in the car and not say nothing to my husband. Not because I didn't want to talk to him, but I'm like, oh, I'm tired. I wouldn't even tell him I'm tired. I would just get in the car and look on my phone. And I realized that was a problem because now my husband doesn't feel like, loved. He doesn't feel like I'm excited to see him at the end of the day. Now he's starting to think that there's something wrong with him. This is something I never really paid attention to, even as parents. I find a lot of couples can relate to the fact that your parenting styles are very different. This can cause a lot of issues because at the end of the day, you guys are a team.
Get out of his business.
Oh, this is my business too. I said, what did I say?
You're just talking about different roles.
Yes, it does. One thing that I can tell you is I had my son at 15. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. My husband came into Jason's life when he was 5. He calls him dad now. And it was hard for me to let go of my single mother role. My teen mom, without my parents showing me how to parent, single mother role. That was very, very hard. Very defensive, very protective over mine. That's my baby bear. But one thing I know and I have to constantly be reminded is I would never let a man get close enough to my family, me and my son, if it wasn't like Jorge.
Hey.
Jorge, with his past gangbanging self, he has a parenting style as well. And one thing that I realize is, like I said, in the order of operations, we're husband and wife first. And when we come to with one another, understanding that we have both each other's best interests in mind for our family, I realize, Kayla, you are not in this by yourself anymore. He is his father as well. You can't say that he's his father just for the title, for the good stuff and not for the bad stuff. But the conversation, it's huge not to be having these conversations in front of your kids, but we had to have conversations to clear the air about how we were going to discipline our son and be on one accord with it without being defensive. Because at the end of the day, we're here to solve a problem. We're here to make a system work. And I think it's easy for us to have a conversation, and once we see things that are getting heated and we end up just, forget it, we're just not gonna talk about it. And then when stuff pops off, little juju starts popping off, and you wanna discipline them a certain way, you're having issues again. And now that parenting role is spilling over into your husband and wife role.
And before you go any further, right, I want everybody to understand this, right? You know, that was very challenging, you know, for me. You know, that, you know, blended families. Let's talk about blended families real quick in general, right? That consists of even business, right? I believe that when you start working with other people, that's business, that's a blended family. He told you that him and CJ are married. But in the beginning it was blended, right? And so, you know, one thing that I needed to understand, that I was most likely getting in my emotions through that process, because, you know, that whole egotistical, I'm a man, this is my house. Well, won't you act like a man? What does a man really, how are we supposed to really act when it comes to character? I got a young man watching me, I'm barking, everything I say and do is not being taught, right? Because I'm still operating of generational curses, right? How I was trained, it wasn't taught to me, I was told to do it. But understanding that my ceiling is going to be his floor, right? And so for me to really understand what that really means, I have to teach him. Because if I want the young man to wash dishes, I need to show him how to wash some dishes. I can't just tell him, go wash some dishes, right? So what kind of leadership, what roles are you playing, right? And so I'm talking to Kayla as a business partner, but forget and neglect that I'm her husband. I'm talking to my little man like he's one of the ops from the streets. Keeping it 100, right? This is the 120/3Ls conference, right? Like this, like we in the 3Ls conference, right? Like keeping it 100. Are you who you say who you are behind closed door? And we family, right? That's the first thing you gotta really start playing, is play your role. But before you play a role, who are you? Who is it that you're trying to be? You know, well, I realized that I'm a man of God first. I had to understand that order operation. Then at that point, I could really understand that for me to be successful in business, I need to make sure that me and my wife were successful. I was so beside myself because we weren't doing right in business that our relationship was triggering off, and that became the catalyst of us not doing right. Because she wants to spend time. I'm talking about, yeah, we crunching numbers. That's spending time. You should be happy. I don't want to do this either, but I'm doing it, right?